The word .com is a familiar sight on most websites. At the heart of this widely used internet address lies a complex story involving a government contract, a global nonprofit, and a company that has seen significant financial success. This company is VeriSign, and its management of the .com domain has been a subject of considerable discussion and controversy. VeriSign generates billions in annual sales and hundreds of millions in profit, with operating margins often exceeding 65%. Its stock has experienced a steady increase over time, a trend related to price increases, maintaining the .com service active for millions of websites. VeriSign's position as the registry operator for the .com domain places it as a key player in the Internet's infrastructure. The .com domain, established in 1985, was initially under the management of the U.S. Department of Defense. In the late 1990s, the U.S. government decided to privatize the domain name system. It awarded a contract to a company called Network Solutions to manage the .com, .net, and .org domains. VeriSign acquired Network Solutions in 2000, taking over the contract. For many years, the U.S. government, through the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, kept a tight leash on VeriSign by imposing price caps of how much it could charge for the .com domain. The Department of Justice noted in 2008 that VeriSign possesses significant market power due to the .com domain's status as the gold standard for websites. VeriSign itself highlights its role, stating that billions of internet users and trillions of dollars in global commerce depend on the security and stability of the .com top-level domain. VeriSign reports that in the third quarter of 2024, it managed 156.7 million .com names and 12.9 million .net names, along with other domains like .name and .cc. Back in 2012, the US government decided to put a limit on how much VeriSign could charge for a .com website address, setting the price at a fixed $7.85. This was done to make sure the cost stayed the same and was easy to predict for everyone who needed a website. Before the US government election in 2016, Obama administration officials told Congress that VeriSign was in talks to extend that $7.85 cap through 2024. In 2018, the government allowed VeriSign to raise the wholesale price cap for .com domains. This new agreement let the company increase its prices by up to 7% annually for 4 out of every 6 years, while still being restricted by a maximum price ceiling. Additionally, the deal included a clause that permanently extended VeriSign's control over the .com domain. Essentially, this change gave VeriSign both the power to consistently raise prices, not passing the ceiling price cap, and permanent ownership of the Internet's most popular domain. Following the 2018 contract amendment, VeriSign increased the price for a .com domain from $7.85 a year to over $10.26 a year, a 30.70% increase. The American Economic Liberties project has raised concerns that the price could potentially reach $13.45 by 2030, and has questioned whether the National Telecommunications and Information Administration conducted a proper investigation into the actual cost of providing the service. This project has also mentioned in several publications that VeriSign's fair market price is less than half of the $10.26 established. VeriSign has presented a different perspective. arguing that its annual wholesale price is competitive. The company points out that the annual wholesale renewal price for a .com domain is lower than 87% of the 448 other generic top-level domains for which data is available. For example, other long-standing top-level domains like .org have a price of $9.93. .biz has a price of $15, and .info, priced at $17.50 a year, are priced similarly or higher. Some of the largest new top-level domains, which have been in the market for over 10 years, have renewal pricing greater than that of a .com, with examples such as .xyz increasing to $11, .online to $25, and .store for $40 a year. From a VeriSign investor standpoint, some have argued that the cost of a domain name is a minimal part of a business's overall website expenses, and that the price of hosting and design is where the real price increases have happened, which is out of VeriSign's control. VeriSign has also stated that customers of .com domain names are more likely to be affected by two factors outside of VeriSign's control. First is the rising cost of retail registrations that are outpacing wholesale prices, with some registrars like GoDaddy, Namecheap, Bluehost, and others who set the final unregulated retail price for consumers. These prices can vary widely. Some registrars even charge more than double VeriSign's wholesale price for renewals, and these increases often happen faster than VeriSign's regulated price hikes. It's also important to remember that registrars often use low introductory prices to attract new customers, but then charge much higher renewal fees later on. The second factor out of VeriSign's control is the huge unregulated secondary market that also exists, where companies buy and sell desirable domain names. They can accumulate millions of these names and resell them for thousands of times the original wholesale price. This makes many domains too expensive for the average person. The huge profits in this market have caused many unknown small companies to get involved, buying up large portfolios of domains and selling them at auctions for well over the retail price. The management of the .com domain involves not only the US government, but also a global nonprofit organization, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, abbreviated to ICANN for the rest of this video. While the National Telecommunications and Information Administration oversees the main contract, VeriSign must still receive permission from ICANN to adjust its prices. In 2020, 2 years after the price caps were lifted by the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, VeriSign and ICANN finalized an agreement. VeriSign was permitted to raise prices by the maximum amount allowed under its National Telecommunications and Information Administration contract. In return, ICANN received a $20 million payment over a 5-year period, in addition to a quarterly fee of 25 cents for every .com registration. Some observers suggest that this arrangement created a financial incentive for ICANN to approve VeriSign's price increases. The price hikes have contributed to VeriSign's impressive profitability. The company's operating income as a percentage of revenue is projected to be around 67% in 2025, a figure that has grown steadily since 2006. This profitability is a key reason why investors favor the company, with its business model described as a highly stable and generating predictable free cash flow. This cash is primarily used for stock buybacks, which benefits shareholders. VeriSign defends these practices, stating they are consistent with those of other successful public companies in the S&P 500. It notes that its return of capital practices are well within the norm and that less than 1% of its shares are held by company officers and directors. The company also emphasizes its commitment to transparency and its compliance with SEC disclosure rules, as a difference with many other private registries and resellers that do not have to be transparent about their ownership, profitability, or operations. VeriSign functions as the regulated registry for all .com domain names, acting as the transparent wholesaler that manages the master database and sets a controlled wholesale price. In contrast, many other entities in the domain name system, including some registrars and resellers like GoDaddy, Namecheap, Bluehost, and others, operate with little oversight and only serve their private owners. These companies can charge high prices and large markups, particularly in the unregulated secondary market. They are not required to be open about their ownership, profitability, or operations to the public, creating a system that lacks transparency. VeriSign demands that these companies be obligated to report ownership, profitability, and other metrics to ICANN and the public, as it would benefit the entire DNS ecosystem and even reduce prices. VeriSign has consistently stated that it does not operate as a monopoly. In an August 2024 blog post, the company pointed to the existence of nearly 1,200 other top-level domains such as .org, .shop, and .uk as evidence of a competitive market with a wide range of choices for consumers. VeriSign also highlights that its wholesale price is lower than most of its competitors, and that these competing top-level domains have been able to grow their market share. VeriSign also states that of the 1,200 different domain endings available today, like .org, .shop, and .ai, in addition to over 250 country-specific endings, like .uk, all of this work in the same way to let people create websites and email addresses. Most of the world's 362 million domain names are not managed by VeriSign, and the number is growing. Consumers also have plenty of choices because over 2,800 different companies, like registrars and thousands of resellers, sell domain names, all with a wide range of prices and packages. However, the question of free market competition was tested in 2016. ICANN put the .web domain name up for auction. Many observers believed .web could be a significant competitor to .com. The winning bid of $135 million, the highest ever for a top-level domain, was placed by a small, unknown company named new.co. The mystery behind the bid was later revealed when VeriSign announced that it had funded new.co's winning bid. With .com, .net, and now .web, VeriSign secured control over another major potential rival. This event led to a backlash from other companies who felt they would have bid more had they known of VeriSign's involvement. One competitor, John Nevitt of Donuts, accused ICANN of giving VeriSign special treatment. The Justice Department investigated the sale but closed the case in 2018. The controversy has been cited as a reason why the .web domain is not widely used today. On December 1st, 2024, VeriSign announced that it had signed a new contract to continue managing the .com website address with the Internet's main governing body, ICANN. Although this new agreement would allow VeriSign to increase prices in the future based on how much the cost of living goes up, the company has publicly promised not to change the current price for now. VeriSign also points out that a specific rule in its contract still keeps a limit on the wholesale price of a .com address. Finally, VeriSign says that it doesn't get to keep the contract just because, but must meet very strict technical standards to ensure the .com system works properly. The company argues that this requirement pushes it to keep investing money to make sure the internet's infrastructure remains strong and reliable for many years. VeriSign is often unfairly blamed for rising .com prices. The real issue is the significant markups added by registrars and the unregulated secondary market. VeriSign's wholesale prices are regulated, and the company has called for greater transparency from other registrars and resellers to help reduce costs for consumers who are seeing these prices constantly rise every year. Want more videos that explain what's really going on in the world of business? Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you're always in the loop. Thanks again for showing love on our last video, and our favorite comment from that one goes to